on those days. Okay, okay.
Just for fun.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, so that is updated. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays of the second week of the month. So again, if you can mentor, that would be fantastic. Please work on finding someone you know to help us out, because we're still 20 short. So thank you for that. And thanks for the update, Vicki. Mike didn't mention that when I talked to him yesterday, so.
They just had that meeting and I have the people that want to do it even one for.
Okay,
I just remember.
okay, perfect. Was everybody successful paying online, or I know some people paid here.
The
Are
people
you
who
liking
wanted
that?
to,
You don't have to. That's the thing we want to.
well, let's see. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, but what I don't want to have happen is for, if you don't know if you can come and can come at the last minute, I want you to still come. So we'll absolutely make it work. It does help us ahead of time to make sure we have enough meals if you do sign up and pay ahead of time. So thank you for that.
Question.
Yes,
I was not successful at paying online. I was successful in registering.
okay.
Where's the link to payment? Is it in there?
It was right underneath the register. Because after you register, there's another option to pay right away.
I'm sure I'll get it.
I had
Okay.
more faith in you.
Yes, Tam.
Pay online, does that register you for lunch too?
No, they were two separate signups.
Ah, yes.
But-
Do both.
Because, so the reason I did them separate is that if people wanted, I'm loud enough without it.
No, you're not.
If people wanted to pay here, then they would sign up just like we always did. But if they wanted to pay online, so that's why I had it separate. I don't quite know how to work that out yet in my mind, but we're evidence flowing together.
Yeah. And we also know some people come and don't eat lunch. So we've got to have kind of multiple options. So,
Don't worry, Tamsin, I got you.
I
okay,
didn't register for 2 lunches.
You
If
did
wanna-
not.
Okay, so if you're gonna pay online and come to the meeting.
You
do
did
2
perfect.
steps, okay.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So let's see, Colin, bowling. Oh.
Thank you. At least this time I get a lunch. The last time I registered for lunch and the lunches were gone. So, no
Well,
problem. But
be here on time.
I'll be here on time.
Yep.
I was late and I brought my check out today. So I'm glad it wasn't just me. It's a two-step process to register and buy your lunch. Cool. All right, so Strike Out Polio. Strike Out Polio is Sunday, October 24th, I think, which is global or polio day globally. And Audrey chatted about this last week, but I have held 5 lanes at Bolosity. So Bolosity is the big blue building on Broadway, 45 lanes of bowling, laser tag, other related games, full bar service. Can I say that? Refreshments and drinks 1 to 3 p.m. So I've held Velocity on Sunday the 24th from 1 to 3 p.m. We're working on a promotion, pledges. It's for Rotarians, families, kids, people like me that can't bowl. My grandchildren do better than I do in bowling, and I sometimes use the, what they call that?
Bumpers?
Bumpers. I sometimes use bumpers. So it's kind of like golf. If I can play golf and get the highest score, I usually get the lowest score in bowling. So come and join us Sunday, October 24th, 1 to 3. It's open for, you can come and play for 1 round of bowling. I've held 5 lanes, and they're telling me that's good for 30 people, because 6 people on a lane. So I think that's it for now. We'll try to do mocks and
Will people sponsor the bowl?
that's what we're working on. People can sponsor the bowlers ahead of time. We will have options that you can write checks on the day to the Rotary Club. And if we write checks to the Rotary Club or the Rotary Foundation, we can get those credited to our club. So those logistics we're working on. We just want, I don't know if there's a Vikings game during that time. I'm not sure it makes a difference. Some people might say who cares, and some care and some don't.
Well, and most of the bowling alleys will have to pay out.
Yeah, I'm sure that good point. Yeah, they have, I don't know, 17 TV sets. So just Sunday the 24th, 1 to 3 p.m. And then the next several weeks we'll work on logistics.
You, Colin. Did anybody come who didn't get a lunch, that wants a lunch? Because we can talk to them and they will make a lunch. Julie, anybody else?
Only if there's somebody else. I want them to make one more lunch.
Merlin,
Two,
Okay.
What,
Two lunches?
let us know.
Merlin, do you want a lunch?
Merlin.
I'm all set.
Oh,
We can get you a lunch. We're getting one for Julie, so.
Well, kitchen's getting one for me.
Oh, the kitchen's got one for you, so you can get one more? Yeah, okay. Yep. I love it when we run out of lunches. I love that. Okay.
I'm glad that's your attitude on that. Like somebody didn't do their job.
Well, I like it way more than when there's 10
Right,
sitting on it.
that's fair,
so,
that's fair.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back here next week where our program will be from the Guatemala Literacy Project team. Before we actually get in, let's go ahead and do the four-way test together. Of all the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Okay, thank you. Any other announcements before we jump in and start our discussion? Miss anything? Okay, you want to bring up the PowerPoint?
I sure do.
All right. So what we're going to be talking about today is first, like where we've been, where we are, and a couple of, our current structure, a draft of a proposed structure, and then then I'll turn it over to you to actually have a conversation at your table about some perceived pinch points in any direct, and if we go any direction, there's some ambiguity there that I would really like you to talk about, because I think the more clarity we have, the better we'll be. So, did we just lose it?
I don't know what we have. I don't know what we did. We did something.
All right. Well, I didn't bring a copy with me,
Well, So, side note, Lori said that the Vikings have a bye week on the 24th.
Perfect. I bet that's why they picked it.
So
All right.
we're back.
We're back.
We're good.
Oh, good. Okay. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
Okay. We can do that. Like you
just have
can't
to like this
ask
slide.
everything of me, okay?
Okay, so a reminder where we've been. We had done a number of surveys. We did small group feedback. We did the district visioning session. We brought a draft of a strategic plan back to the membership, and the board approved the strategic plan. And so on most of the tables here, let me get, there is, go ahead and go to the next slide.
Oh, okay.
Here's, there's a copy of the strategic plan. And if you recall, what we had said was important is that, we want to be known for having impact in the areas of impact that are really important. We want to be engaged with each other. We want to work on education, and we want to work on global health. That those are the three main areas of impact. And so, so that's where we've been, okay? And go ahead and go to the next slide.
So it's a slight delay. There we go.
Okay. So this is our current structure, all right? And so there are copies, again, I did not bring enough copies, I apologize. So as we look at
Yep, I got it.
as we look at the current structure, there are some things that make sense and there are things that, this is me talking. So right now, in the meeting area, what do we call it, meeting activity, we have one person who's supposed to find like greeters and another person who's supposed to find the vocational, who's somebody to do the four-way test and somebody to do the reflection and somebody. We have multiple people in our current structure that are aligned, that are supposed to be doing that in our current structure. And so I don't know that we need, I think wouldn't it be nice to just have one person making sure we have all the slots filled at a meeting, but that's me talking. And so what we did as a board, when we were working on a proposed structure, is we took a step back and we looked at everything that we did and we said, why do we do it? Do we do it because it's education? Do we do it because it's health? Do we do it because it's engagement? And we kind of put everything together, and that's what you have in the proposed structure. So, and I will tell you, the board feels really strongly about engagement. We know it's really important that people join Rotary to be with each other. I mean, to do impactful things, but also to be with each other. And so we ended up playing with this structure and moving things around a little bit. And there's some that do fall into multiple places. Youth exchange is a great one. So for example, with youth exchange, yes, it's a global program, but it's also very youth focused. So there's some ambiguity there. It could go in either slot. So on the proposed one, you'll see I did do some more color coding so that the green, one of them shows 3 club efforts. The other one is like if it's a district effort. Anyway, there's some color coding on there, and that's in there. You'll see in the circle, that's who's on the board. And then there's some dotted lines to the foundation, because when you are on the Rotary board, you also, if you're in a certain position, are also on the foundation board. So I don't expect you to digest this in one screen. But what I'd like to do now is kind of talk about where I see some of the pinch points and some of the discussion that I'm hoping we'll have today. You want to go to the next?
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do want to. There you are.
Okay. One of the questions that we have is about community service. So I should probably, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I can follow you.
Okay, sorry. I tend to wander.
Yep.
So as we talk about community service, there's lots of great things that we do. Tree planting and bell ringing, and we're not saying we want to get rid of that. We're not saying that at all. Volunteering at Portage Hill, all those things are really important. The question is, why do we do it? And I think the question that I have is, if we do everything, we don't have a lot of impact if we try and do everything. So do we do it because it's good? I mean, yes, it's good for the community, but I think we're also doing it because we get to spend time with each other while we're doing it. But so that's kind of my question. Does it belong under engagement? Does it belong somewhere else? And if it's up on its own level, if we say this is that it needs a 4th spot in the strategic plan. So instead of just engagement, global health, and education, we need another spot for community. How do we balance all that? I mean, because what I worry about is if we try and do everything, I worry about how much impact we're going to have. Because we can volunteer and volunteer and volunteer, and we'll have lots of volunteer hours, but does it matter? Did we actually move the needle on anything in our community, and how do we measure that? Because one of the things you may have noticed, that I kind of zipped right over, is adding a position on the board about measurement and DEI. Because if we're gonna say we're an organization with impact, then we better well measure what we're gonna do, because we need to be able to tell our story. I mean, if we want to get other people to engage with us, we have to have a story to tell, and we have to actually make sure we're doing impact. Because there's a lot of things that make us feel good that don't do anything. And I mean, I'm not trying to judge anything that we're currently doing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, you know, if we're gonna have impact, you gotta measure. And so we've actually put a spot on the board for that. We also know diversity, equity, inclusion. There's a 3-club effort going on with that. That's really critical. Those are some things. But the whole, where does community service fall is a conversation I'd love to have you have at your tables. Because I don't have an answer. I don't come in here with any answers. I come in here saying, what do you want? Because that's what we're trying to find out. And then fundraising. I think that's also a question that I have about where does it fit? Because right now we have both a foundation and a fundraising committee. There's actually a club fundraising, you know, in the current structure. It's there. And so I'm not saying, does all the fundraising go into the foundation? I'm not necessarily saying that, but where does it fit? I mean, do we end up saying this is so important that we have a fundraiser for education and we have a fundraiser for global health? I don't know. Again, that's up to you to decide how we do that. But my other question, and then where does community fit into that? So I look at all the really important things that are on our structure, and are we funding them? You know, where are our priorities with funding? Because I know at the library, we have our top 5 things and we fund them. You know, if we are trying to make change, that's what we fund. But that doesn't mean you don't fund, you know, it doesn't mean I don't fund checking out books if I'm also working on this over here. So that's the question I have, is where is the role of fundraising for the community in priority with what we do for our own programs and the programs we have chosen? Like, you know, where do we actually fundraise for, you know, the Guatemala Stove Project differently than we do now? Do we do something for youth exchange? Do we say, these are the programs, Strive, these are the programs we fund first, and then we do other things? Or do we say it matters so much that we have programs that people can apply for in our community because, you know, we want to do that too? Again, you know, and how much time do we want to spend on fundraising? I think that's part of the question we have to ask. But you can't do what you want to do without any money at all. So that's a question I have around fundraising. And then membership. Where does membership belong? Right, so one of the things, the membership chair currently, the tradition is that the president-elect is the membership chair. So the membership chair changes every year, and everybody brings different skills and talents in, and you know, I don't know that gives us the continuity that we want. You know, I think the membership person should be the person you want to be throwing the party. And the one who really knows how to welcome you and make sure that there's follow-up if anybody, you know, if anybody calls, you know, and says, I'm interested in it, and making sure all those things happen. And everybody brings different skill sets. And so I'm not saying it shouldn't be the president-elect. I mean, this is nothing about Ally. This is about continuity long-term. But honestly, I didn't do a lot last year, you know, my half year when I was, I mean, engagement, of course, is something I really care about. But where does that belong and how does it, and where would we be most effective? Do we have a welcoming team that really focuses on that? And what else goes with that? So those are the questions that I would love you to start with and others. So if your table comes up with something, I would love to have it. So I'm going to take you two and have you move to another table. Chris and yeah. So I pointed at him. I knew he was. Yeah. And then what I'd like somebody to be a recorder and go ahead and take a paper that's on the table and kind of talk through these questions. Anything else that comes up with your group on what you think, and we're going to do a report back out. It is 12:25. I know that's a lot to talk about, but let's see how far you get in. Yeah.
I'm curious, is RI doing this, or is this just something local we're doing? or-
This is something we're doing. Yeah. I think the pandemic made us all go, my theory is never waste a crisis. And I think it makes us step back and look at where we want to go as an organization. Because I just think it's really important for us as an organization to say, where do we want to go? Because if we don't have a target, we'll float along. And I'm not saying, I really believe with intentionality, we can accomplish great things. And I have always believed in Rotary as a place to do that. And so I just think we have to be really intentional about where we want to go and say, this is who we are. But yeah.
And just for context there too. Oh yeah, sorry. For context, Vicki, when we went for our visioning session, so 2 out of the 3 road or Rochester groups were going through, but it's the busiest that they've been in years. And they said there's just a lot of reexamination that's happening across our region. To think about exactly what Audrey is talking about. It's like, where are we putting our efforts? And I think that's where we got so disrupted and we're away from each other for so long. I think a lot of people said, what are we really doing? And how do we do it better?
In fact, my recollection is when we talked to the people from the district that were going to be doing the visioning, I think they said they had, and this was three or 4 months ago, they had at the time 21 of the clubs involved in visioning. And I think that's out of what is there, 62 clubs in the district? That's a pretty hefty percentage that realize that you say they've got to take advantage of a crisis.
Yeah, exactly. I would not have remembered that
I
number.
know, thank you, Valerie.
Yeah. All right, let's start with 10 minutes. I know that's not a lot of time, but I know. Well, I wanted people to be able to report back. 12 minutes. Okay, we'll go 12 minutes. Okay.
Where do you want me to go?
Yep, sure. And I will float around and answer any questions. So if you want to start. So for people online, Amber's gonna, you guys are gonna work together as a team as well.
Yeah, I am. That doesn't mean that I'm a diamond.
You're being.
I have been an active in this Rotary, and quite frankly, I understand things change. I guess I don't understand why.
Hey, I see the rest of you on Zoom are all muted, as was I until just this minute. How she wants us to work together as a group discussion, or a discussion group, I should say. How are we going to do that? I'm getting all that noise from the country club. How are we going to do this?
Okay, here, we're working on it.
Okay. It seems a shame to waste a good time like this. We may have some ideas here.
Yep, I agree. We're gonna try and get you, because you guys we're hearing you in the country club too, so we're trying to figure out how to do this. Do you know how to get them?
Yeah, you just mute your speakers.
Are we- Okay. I'm listening to them. Now I don't hear them. I do. I do. We have an interesting collection of people here.
We're trying.
Doing our best.
Yeah, that's creative.
I mean, we actually have a very nice group of people to have a discussion because we bring to it a lot of different backgrounds and experiences. So, we have to be like that.
And Lute's brilliant, yeah.
So don't
Don't worry about putting them in their room anymore.
Yeah,
Are we're supposed to do this, right? I'm going to join the breakout room. Right?
There, Marco's in the room. You don't need to do. Yeah, but it would make more sense.
It's okay, it doesn't matter. They're in a room, that's okay.
So how do I
They're all
get to
gonna
the
be in a
room?
room together.
Joining a room will start sharing your screen. That's okay, right?
Consensus was that there are probably fundraising and community service that touch on engagement, education, and health across the board. And so maybe they're contributors to it, not a separate category. So that's about as far as we got in that 12 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Who's reporting over here? Thank you.
We had a similar thought on, especially the community, the service idea that a lot of service can flow into education, global health, a lot of the other things that we see, even the fundraising with Holiday Classic and things. As we touched on the idea of membership, we were uncreative at this table and said, having it with the president-elect serves the purpose of, we see the stated purpose of getting that person involved with the members and having a strong and active membership for the next year. So that was our idea there. We also talked about if we wanted somewhere to nest specifically some of the, I call it the mini events, the mini community volunteer opportunities. Perhaps we seek one that kind of nests that under public image and seek those mini events that also serve the purpose of getting Rotary's name out there. For example, for me was Quarry Hill Fall Festival, and obviously with the bell ringing, we had the opportunity of, engaging with the community, saying who we are, where we come from. A lot of the other things, also do have community opportunities. We said, well, maybe we nest under public image and seek those win-win opportunities where we're doing some good out in the community, but also our name is allowed to be part of it.
Joe, okay. I just assumed not. Because it was a meaty conversation with no bullet points that emerged. But there was definitely a sense that the Rotary Club of Rochester Community Foundation has community in it for a reason. And that is those dollars should be put into the community. And we give our dues to the district, we give our dues to Rotary International. And it sounded like Rotary International should be driving the bus on the international side, and our club should be working on the community side, but at the same time acknowledging that we are an international organization and the opportunity for knowledge and growth and becoming part of a world movement, as it were. Nobody used those words. But you know, you belong to Rotary for a reason. There are a lot of things we could be doing with our time. There was I didn't write fast enough, but it had to do with knowing how much money we have, knowing how much money we need to raise, and supporting the things that matter to the membership. And then community service almost around the table. Everyone said that's a good part of why they come to Rotary. And the engagement is the joy that you have helping others, but also being together and getting to know one another. Okay, did I miss anything? So, thank you.
And we were very visual black and white people. We took membership and moved it out, made it its own little box across the top. We feel that's important. Where it's an engagement, we changed it to club engagement and took out community volunteer opportunities and moved that over to its own space. Equal to membership, community service, or community engagement opportunities to the Corey Hills, everything would fall into that. Fundraising needs to be a part of everything, not on its own separate. And again, we wrote, where is international? The word international is not on here anymore. And that's a huge part of what it is, and it should be.
Okay. Thank you. Who's going to speak for the online group?
I don't know yet. I don't know why it won't show the screen.
We're having a little technical problem, but
They can see and hear you.
okay. So we can hear you too. So who's going to speak?
I don't know. Judy, do you want to?
Judy,
You're muted. I can't get it on the screen.
Okay, look, we had technical difficulties, so we really were just barely getting together to have some discussion. But it definitely came, we were sort of going toward, why do people come? Why did we join? What is it we're interested in, or whatever? And we never got even around our group to talk about how that was. So we really barely got started. I don't know whether there was anything worth reporting, and only you guys can say where they were. I can't.
I give up.
Okay.
I broke it.
Okay.
So you were.
So if you guys have any notes, if you could email them to me, I would love that. Okay. So can you go on to the next slide?
No.
So just bring it up for
joking
me.
me?
Just bring it up
Okay.
for me.
I don't know where it went. I think I figured out why nothing's working. What is that?
Okay. Nope. The next. Nope. This one. Okay. So the other question that I'd like to put before you is really about the meetings. Can you bring that back up?
Yep.
Okay.
But in front of the camera so they can see you on Zoom.
Okay, well, but I need to see this. Okay, so, so the proposal before you is to make the first Thursdays committee meetings. So, and ask everybody in the club to join the committee. So why did you come to Rotary? What do you care about? And we would meet in this room and we'd set up tables. And so if Youth Exchange is going to meet at a table, and membership is going to meet at a table, and community service is going to meet at a table, and you get to pick what you care about and what you want to talk about, and what you want to work on. It gives you time with other Rotarians to plan, to do the things that you say are important. So one of the questions I have is, well, first, what I'd like you to talk about at your table, what do you think of that proposal? Will it work? Will it not? I know there's some challenges with 3 club committees. How might that work? And then if there are committees that nobody joins, is that how we decide what we sunset? So anyway, go ahead. I'll give you 5 minutes to have a conversation.
Isn't it like that sometimes?
I know, because they had me unplug everything from the laptop when we did breakout rooms, and then I plugged everything back in. It would pick up the desktop.
Yes, I know, but it looks like, you know.
They're doing something.
Okay,
Hang on, Judy, hang on.
that's okay.
Here, I'll have her come back over here and we'll just have to
Talk to you too.
do it
Okay.
this way.
Look, all right. Now, what kind of committees are you talking about? You were
So what I was thinking is that, so let's say there's a fundraising committee, or there's a membership committee, or there's the youth exchange committee, or whatever. I mean, that whatever, it could be all the committees. I mean, I understand that there are people that are involved in more than one. But, the joy of one of the things that I see about that, and it would still be able to be hybrid, you'd bring people in. We could set up different Zoom links for different committees. But what I do see is the ability to then tap other people in the room, because if everybody's in the room, you'll have a question, you're like, well, I need to ask this committee, and that person may very likely be in the room. So but I also think it's really important that we spend time on what we care about and actually have a time outside of, I mean, for a lot of people, we block off that every single Thursday through the year.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not a really much challenge to keep that Thursday. But that's just the proposal. Again, you guys can hate it.
Let me put in just a comment, okay?
Yep.
Okay, when I joined the Rotary back 18 years ago or whatever it was, everybody knew that what attracted me to Rotary was the international programs.
Mhm.
And so the rest of the people kind of let me have that, get in there, and I got into this weird thing called grants, nuts. And that's where it's so rare that people don't, I mean, I was able to stay on it because nobody else wants to be there. Okay, but there are other people that like to do the international stuff.
Yep.
But there were others that wanted to do the local stuff.
Yep.
The community. And we found out that we were organizing the international to fund our things and do our thing. And the community people didn't. And we were sort of telling them, look, you have to do this to get you want to do things, you've got to put together projects, you got to get your own funding like this. Here's how you do it. We'll help you. And that kind of thing. That I've been watching it. You've got wonderful programs going on in the community. Program type things, what is it, cradle to whatever, coffin, somebody said last week. But you're not organized to be pulling in the money and to be funding these things.
Yep.
We're far more organized on the international area.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and so, but it's 18 years of doing it.
Yep.
We've been working on it, and we'll be glad to help other people. But I can see how community could use what we've been doing.
Yep.
I'm not into the basketball classic or some of those things. Other people are really, that's their big thing.
And that's okay. I mean, that's the joy of Rotary.
Yeah.
There's everybody can find what they love about it.
But so when you start to put together a committee structure in the very near future, be careful how that is done, because I think we need to know from us where there is a group of people anyway that would make a natural committee. Anyway, for what it's worth.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And by the way, I'd like to make another comment too. We're aging out. A lot of us we are committed to Rotary, but we don't have the energy and the freedom that we used to have, and so that's a factor for some of us too.
Yep.
And I mean, it's just one of the things we have to deal with in going forward.
Yep. Very true.
Okay.
Okay.
It's over there where your teeth. Yep.
I'd be interested, Dave, in what you have.
We only have a couple minutes
Why
left.
are they
I'd like to go back around and here. I'm gonna.
Looks like the
Yeah, but I am interested in what you have to say, because you came in a new generation.
We talked about any of the 3 club initiative things that would really work. However, then we have
And Marco is still another one.
if you're not on a committee, you can still sit at a table and learn about, because we don't want to be, if you're not on the committee, you can't be there type of thing. then, yes, I would like to hear.
But is it okay to encourage Rotarians to be on committees? Okay.
We use.
Who wants to talk here?
Program committees, it's really truly, you know. And we
I'm not sure what the word is from our table, but I think we like the idea of the first Thursday being committee meeting day. We're trying to decide how you would structure that. And if you have 8 committee possibilities and 90% of the people go to one, that spreads it pretty thinly elsewhere. Or alternatively, should the first Thursdays for the first time or two be divided, there only be 3 encompassing options. And then my words at the time were that people are going to vote with their feet, and you're going to see where the interest lies, and then maybe that means that for the other 2, we need more information. That we just don't know enough about B and C.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Who's here?
I think we found, possibly the potential, especially encouraging community participation. One question we had was working with the online folks and those who wanted to, without the need to participate via Zoom. We just say there's no electronic option. How would that incorporate with the tables? One of the things we talked about towards the end there.
We mentioned we could use the idea as a membership. We did talk about using the idea such that we can't time, at least at this stage, we can tie the folks on Zoom into a variety of committees that would be meeting here separately. So our thought was they would each form their committee, and maybe we could expand the membership at each one of the senior living facilities. They would have their own meeting, and we would promote that and let them promote that, almost like a sub club of our club.
Okay.
Now,
No, I do think, even just with your phone, you could have a Zoom meeting for the committee, and you could bring up people who are on Zoom into the different committees.
sure, and we also realize that each of those, at least larger senior living committees have a bus. And we can encourage them to all get on the bus and come join us. I don't know very little about it. There is an option to break up into committees on Zoom.
Yes.
So can't you make it-
We could make a breakout room. Yes, we could put people in breakout rooms. Yep. This table.
We discussed a lot of things. One of the biggest things that we talked about is just the quality of programming. And however that lands, just making sure that the quality of programming is elevated going forward.
All right. Any final comments, questions, anything you want the board to know, to consider when we meet?
Okay, I have a question, and maybe we can just vote it here in the room. So if we were to have tables with different committees, and you can just correct this. How, in what category will the tables be put? Would it be 3 tables that is our 3 interests? Or would it be 8 tables going with like measurement, engagement, education? Or would it be 6 tables that is under engagement or under the education? Because how would we do that?
Right. There is definitely some logistical piece. But one thing I am hearing, I heard especially from this group, is not everybody always knows what's available. And maybe for our first meeting is we just set up tables and people who are on the committees can can say this is what they do, and you can walk around and learn what all the different committees are, and then you can recruit people.
Ready.
So people who are on the committees might want to recruit other people to be part of that. Do we want to start with that maybe in November?
Sounds sensible.
Does that sound, is it? Well,
That sounds sensible. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm with Karen on this one.
okay, I like sensible. Okay.
I'm on the only club committee I'm on is the 3 Club, so we can't meet on Thursday, so I don't even know what other committee I would join.
I consider, yeah, I can think of a lot you could be
I
on.
feel like we might fight over you.
Yeah.
Oh.
I really wish we had more time. I really appreciate the conversation. I will take all the notes you guys have and drawings and anything else, and I will transcribe those for the board for our next board meeting. So you'll hear again from us as we come back with a modified structure plan, but we will plan on in November a chance to get to know all the different committees. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, it's 1:02.
Yes, we are adjourned.
Sure.